John and I met a little over a year ago, and we hit it off instantly. We had two things in common: hunting and filming. Once my seasons were virtually over, he asked me if I wanted to tag along to a late season muzzleloader hunt up in Ohio on some family land. Of course, I'm not going to turn down a hunting trip, so off we went.
We're on our way to southern Ohio. It's pretty cold out. It's like 15 degrees up there. Pretty excited about this hunt. We got some Big and J put out this past weekend and got the covert cameras on, and hopefully they're taking big pictures.
Lethal Mission is sponsored by
Welcome to Ohio. Made a trip up late last night when I got off work. Snow was just coming down, roads were terrible, but hey, we made it, we're here, we're excited. It is 15 degrees. Not a fan of it, but hey, it keeps the deer up on their feet, and that's what we're here for. Checking the trail cameras right now, so hopefully Covert has some good pictures for us, and we're excited to check that out. We got some Big and J that we had here this past weekend, and I think they liked it so much they tore up the gravity feeder, so I would say that we're having some great success with that, and can't wait to see what kind of bucks they bring in.
So Jon and JB are finally settled in Ohio. The Big and J's put out, bucks are showing up on the covert trail cameras, and now they need to get their butts in a hawk tree stand.
It's about 10 o'clock. It is absolutely freezing. It's still about 10 or 12 degrees. Around 9, we had a big doe and 2 little ones come in with her. They started feeding on the Big and J. They stayed in there for about, I don't know, a good 30, 40 minutes. Then they eased out. It is so cold. Our feet are absolutely on fire. We don't know if they're hot or cold. But we came in here last night and got everything set up, and we think we might have pushed some out and held them out a little bit longer than normal. So we're gonna get down and go get something warm, and hopefully come back this evening and put one down. So just stay with us, guys.
So it's about 3 o'clock. We're on our way back out. We was hoping the temperature would rise a little bit, but it only went up about 3 degrees. So we're looking at 15 degrees right now. Didn't have much movement this morning. We just had those 3 does come through. Checked the trail camera, and there was no movement at all last night. So we're hoping that they're going to come in pretty heavy this evening, and we can get one of those big bucks that the camera has for us.
First evening in the tree stand on Muzzeloader. It feels like it's warmed up a little bit. We're set up. We're feeling pretty confident about this. We didn't have any deer movement at all last night on the trail camera, really. So we're hoping those big bucks move in and get them a bite of that Big and J. And they're gonna get a bite of this Muzzeloader if they do.
This cold front literally hit one day before we got there, and because of the low temperatures, the deer really seemed to be hunkered down. So this took us to the last day to wrap up this late season muzzleloader hunt up in Ohio.
It's the last day for us muzzleloading season here in Southern Ohio. We're down to the wire. Seen a bunch of doe and a lot of activity coming in behind us. Deer was just surrounding us yesterday, and we just couldn't get the camera on anything really. We had this mama doe come in, and thankfully for the nose jammer, she didn't smell us. She was trying to wind us left and right and kept looking and looking and looking, just couldn't figure us out. So there's no doubt in my mind nose jammer did its job last night. You know, we're just thankful that, you know, God's blessing us with the health to be out here in this cold weather and letting us do our own thing. So hopefully we can get something done this evening. Gonna try to put some meat in the freezer if the opportunity comes. So just hang tight and help us keep us warm out there. So stay tuned, guys. Hopefully we'll get some good stuff down for y'all.
Like I was talking about earlier, this is our last day to get something done here in southern Ohio with the muzzleloader. It was supposed to have warmed up today, but it didn't. Temperature's saying high at 23. We're looking at about 13 degrees right now. Walked in and there's some deer eating on the Big and J, and we was trying to get in here before we busted anything out, but you know, when something's so good, the deer can't resist it. So you know, it's just one of those things. But now we're set in, ready to rock.
When the temperatures get down to the single digits like they did for this trip, it really takes a toll on our gear. Not only was my fan motor freezing up in my ozonics, my batteries were going dead within a few minutes, even though they were fully charged. I told Jon I wasn't going to risk running the camera when I didn't need to while we waited on the buck we named Elevator to step out. So we just waited patiently. I kept my batteries in my hand warmer and just waited for that moment of truth.
So JB was waiting on this buck to get settled in before he took the shot. However, during that time frame, the buck sensed something wasn't right and took off. Fortunately for JB, the buck did give him one more chance.
Hold up. You got him. I'm on him. What a weekend it has been. Cold and cold. All we've seen was does for the past 3 sessions we've been out here. We had a doe come in earlier. She was up on top, and we decided if we was gonna take her. She came down, and I lost sight of her, so I picked up my gun to look, and she seen me. I guess she was looking at me. I couldn't see very well, and she took off blowing. So I was kind of bummed about that. I figured she ruined the whole hunt. And it wasn't 10 or 15 minutes later, we just got bombarded by a deer. They all came down to the Big and J, and I think this was the first night we seen that much activity in the field. I was unsure about the deer that buck that was right here. I was gonna debate about it, and time I got up there and got ready, he heard me and took off. It was definitely about a 35-yard shot, if that. He was in that Big and J, and I'm telling you what, that Big and J really brought the deer in, and especially the bucks. So hopefully I made a good shot. I felt comfortable with it, otherwise I wouldn't have pulled the trigger. So cameraman Jon said that I definitely hit it, so we're gonna give him a little bit and go check him out.
I just had every hunter's nightmare. Thought we made a good shot on the deer. You know, he did the kick and hunkered up, so went down to the truck, got everything situated, and came back up, and there's absolutely no blood. We tracked and tracked, and we came back to the spot. We was looking at the footage, and we found some deer hair, and it's all white. So I gave him a little haircut. Sucks that I didn't get the deer, but as I was telling Jon, you know, he's gonna come back even bigger. So that's something to look forward to.
This was a tough hunt, there's no doubt. Unfortunately, that is how it goes sometimes, and thankfully this buck wasn't injured. But like JB said, he just got a haircut, and he will be back next year, and he will be even bigger. Actually, there he is right now, showing up on the covert wireless trail camera. This story is far from over.
Crosstown Outfitters presents The Mission.
Romans 12:12. Be glad for all God is planning for you. Be patient in trouble and always be prayerful. The Apostle Paul is giving us great advice here. A common theme throughout much of Scripture is things aren't always going to be easy, and the same applies here. We must have hope in Jesus and what He is planning for our life. As we go through life, we will face troubles, but being patient during those times is crucial in strengthening our relationship with Him. We must always be prayerful through the good times and the bad. I often think about my good friend Jon when I read this verse. Even back before I even knew him, God was preparing a plan for us to meet. Jon always dreamed about having his hunts filmed and being a part of something meaningful. Through prayer and seeking God's direction in his life, we met through a close friend. Jon and I have spent many great times together, and now here he is on his first episode of Lethal Mission TV. Lastly, the road wasn't always easy for Jon, and you could say he's had a few bumps. He's had to be patient through some hard times, and when it seemed like nothing was happening, God was opening doors.